Welcome back to the Suburban Black Girl podcast, episode 25.
Woohoo, 25.
Cheers.
Another milestone.
Quarter of the way to 100.
Woo! When you put it like that, that's crazy.
I know. And what was I thinking about the other day? I was like, a couple of weeks will be 6 months that we've been doing this.
Wow, man. And staying consistent.
Yeah. And we said, let's push through the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're almost there. So.
No, that's huge.
Yeah.
Congratulations to us.
Period.
Well, today we're going to talk about being a Black woman and just the corporate struggle. I think that's a topic within itself. Just navigating corporate life and being a Black woman and everything that it comes with. So wanted to just take a deeper dive into the topic.
Yeah. And even if you don't work a corporate job, I feel like even if you work in a fast food restaurant, I feel like there's politics everywhere, you know?
True.
Nonsense, code switching, ignorant people, ignorant bosses, no matter what your industry is, no matter how high level it is. So
No, very
I
true.
feel like everyone can relate.
Yeah. Even as an entrepreneur, you know, dealing with people and vendors and clients. So same thing for sure.
As long as you're dealing with people. As long as you have to step out your house and communicate to anyone, you can relate.
Please stop. The first question for you is, what does burnout look like for Black women in corporate spaces? And you can speak from your own experience if you have any.
I think from my own experience, it for sure can be the workload, but I think it is much easier to navigate a heavy workload when you're not putting your energy into dealing with difficult personalities, into code switching, into having to be on. I think that contributes a lot and I think that contributes, again, for people like us, where our social battery can run out quicker than other people. And I think code switching and being on takes a lot of battery powder. And so for me, that's on top of the heavier workloads can lead to burnout.
No, for sure. When I think of burnout as a Black woman, you know, we dress the part. And I feel like the second we're not putting the effort into doing our hair for work or putting our makeup on for work or overly getting dressed for work, that's when it's like, oh yeah, I ain't feeling it. That's one of the things I noticed for sure. That is a sign of like, I'm just over it. When you just show up like you just rolled out of bed, hair's all over your head, you're burning out, literally.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, it's just, you wake up and you just feel heavy. You're just like, I actually don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
And also just when people talk to you, it's kind of like you're not rude, but you may have a snarky remark sometimes.
But also, if your job is something that you genuinely enjoyed before, and all of a sudden, like every little thing is irritating you, I feel like that's also when you know, too.
For sure. No, for sure. Because it's like at one point you're like, I prayed for this job. How I prayed for this job, and now I'm miserable at this job.
Yeah.
But sometimes it happens, you know?
I've been having that conversation lately too, in general, about prayers, where it's like we all pray for certain things, but sometimes you forget to pray for the strength or the means or the whatever it is that comes with it. You know, we maybe prayed for this podcast to get where it is today and to get where it is in the future, but we also need to be praying that the bigger it gets, the more trolls there's going to be, the more negative comments there's going to be, the more haters there's going to be. So as much as we pray for success, we have to pray for the strength over our mental and emotional health.
Yeah, because they're coming in.
Yeah, and the strength to deal with the negative that comes with growing. And I think a lot of times that gets lost. You know, you might pray for the job that you have now, but there's always, I don't want to say there's always a catch because that sounds really negative, but there's always something else that's going to come with, honestly, achieving your goals or like reaching your dreams.
No, you're very right about that. because I find myself in that same predicament where I pray for something and then it comes and it's like, whoa, this is actually overwhelming. So it's true, which is why I'm big on like being very specific with my prayers. And I feel like once I get that prayer answered, it's like I'm having to pray over that prayer that was once answered. Like,
Right.
I need more guidance. Give me strength. Give me the patience. Help me balance it all. Like, help me figure it out. So
Yeah.
you're so right about that. We ask for these things and we get them, and it's still kind of like you're still just trying to figure it out.
And I just feel like you never stop trying to figure it out.
No.
It doesn't
gosh.
matter
Oh my God, no.
how old you get, how much you go through, how many lessons you learn. You're literally constantly trying to figure it out, constantly evolving, constantly changing your thoughts, your opinions, your mindset, constantly growing. And I think even that can become a little exhausting too when, and this I feel like is the biggest caveat, is when you are the type of person that is self-aware and working on yourself, then I feel like it can feel exhausting.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you're just one of those types of people that's just head in the clouds, which a lot of times I envy those kind of people, honestly.
Yes.
I think it's overwhelming to be self-aware sometimes, you know, of what you need to work on, what you're working on, all of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to shut off.
No, you do. And you're just like constantly wanting to outdo yourself, you know? I'm like, woo, finally hit that milestone. I'm so proud of me. And a few months later, I'm like, all right, it's time to get back
like-
in the field. It's like, shit.
That, and even if you don't have that mindset, life is going to hit you with, oh, you thought you were healed. Here's 5 more things for you to work on.
No, literally. Like, life is just full of never-ending lessons. And I'm like, my God, adulthood is exhausting. I mean, yes, it's a lot of fun, but it is exhausting. I'm like, child, I could have been a child longer if this was what it was going to be. Do you feel pressure to overperform just to be seen as competent?
Just to be seen as competent. I don't think it's the last part as far as just to be seen as competent. I feel like I feel the pressure to overperform because you're already working up against the fact that you're a woman and that you're a Black woman. And I feel like that's why I don't think anyone is looking at me like I'm stupid, but I feel like they're already going to prefer somebody else that is a male, and especially somebody else that is a white male, or somebody else that is white, period. So I feel like that is always what makes you feel like you have to be twice as good so that they can't use your race as an excuse to disqualify you, your race and your gender as an excuse to disqualify you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thankfully, currently where I work, I don't feel like that at all. You know, I don't feel like my race plays a factor at all. Thank God. But, you know, previous companies I've worked at, definitely, yes, I felt like, you know, I had to overperform due to just me being a Black woman and working there and them making me feel as though there's not many of you that get this opportunity, so we're giving you the shot. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And that does not feel good.
It's like off rip, they're setting the stage with, you're not going to get grace.
Yeah.
So be perfect.
Yes.
You know, meanwhile, somebody else can be underqualified.
Yeah.
They can mess up. I was just talking to my boyfriend about this, how one of his coworkers does the same job as him. And they're basically grooming his white coworker to get promoted. They're spending hours with him in a conference room, training him, teaching him things, a lot of things he should already know, a lot of things my boyfriend already knows. And it's just like, we don't get that.
No.
He literally has to figure stuff out on his own. He's expected to know stuff. And then when he solves major problems that happen, there's no, oh, good job. It's, glad that issue's fixed. Or glad we, literally verbatim, he fixed an issue this week and it was like, glad we figured that out.
Oh my gosh.
And it's,
We is
and for him, it's like, who is we?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, somebody else who is the same role as him is getting coddled, getting proper training, getting taught everything, and being groomed for a promotion that, like, he's already ready for, but that he's literally not going to get because he's Black.
Crazy. And it is so crazy. And to your point, and this may be controversial, but do you feel like Black women or Black men have it harder in the corporate world?
Black women, because at least what Black men have going for them is that they're men. At the end of the day, it's almost like this is not the
Yeah.
right verbiage, but it is almost like we are a double minority. Jesus, I can't talk. It's
yes.
almost like we are a double minority. We have sexism going against us and we have racism going against us.
Yeah.
I think it is most definitely harder for us because if somebody makes a comment to a Black man like, oh, Susie doesn't know what she's doing, like they will feel comfortable saying that to him, to a fellow man, you know? But yeah, no. I feel like we have gender and race going against us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Where do you think the expectation to be twice as good comes from? And how does it affect your mental health as a Black woman?
I don't know. I think that when you birth a child as a Black woman, they give you a handbook, and in the first rule of that handbook is to hammer it home to your daughters that they have to be twice as good. I don't make the rules. That's just what happens.
Like,
It's just
please.
generational. I'm joking, but I'm not. Like it's just generationally passed down.
No, that's true.
It's literally generationally
one of
passed
those
down at this
conversations.
point. So where it stems from, it stems from our grandmothers and our great grandmothers because they experienced the same racism and discrimination that we have today. And that's why that lesson continues to get passed down and passed down and passed down. And I think what a lot of people forget is like there are literal descendants of slave owners still alive. Like we are not that far removed from all of this, from Jim Crow, from slavery, from segregation, from all of that. We are not that far removed. It has not been that long.
Yeah, not long ago at all.
You know, so I guess if you're asking the question of where it stems from, it's that.
Yeah.
We're not that far off. So if my great grandmother lived through that, and my mom was raised by her great grandmother. So it's just like, I'm joking, but I'm not. It's literally a given. It is something, it's a non-negotiable conversation as a Black mother to your Black daughter for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, because even though that maybe was 60, 70, 80, however long years ago, the current administration is trying to bring us back to that. So it's going to be a conversation for the next several generations, unfortunately. And the biggest example of that and how you can still fail is the fact that Kamala Harris lost. And going back to your question about is it harder to be a Black woman or a Black male in corporate America, Kamala Harris had more political experience than Barack Obama did when he first ran, and she still lost. So when we say we have to be twice as good, she was beyond twice as good and still lost. And the crazy thing is that, listen, I think Obama is exceptional and I think he's very charismatic, a great public speaker. He had great policies and he was able to do unprecedented things like that man won Florida. You know, that would not happen today. So, but going back to your question, if he was a Black woman, would that have happened? No. And I think that is why the 2 times Donald Trump has won was against women, because this country would quite literally rather see an incompetent man run the country than see a woman do it.
And you just brought up a point that I don't think a lot of people talk about, the fact that both terms he's ran against women and gone against women. So
he's run 3 times.
Oh, that's true.
He ran against Hillary, he won. He ran against Biden, he lost. He ran against Kamala, he won. He was only able to beat women. And both of those women were more qualified than him, in my opinion. But literally, this country would rather see a white man president than a woman ever. And it didn't matter if it was a white woman or a Black woman.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it was even worse that it was a black woman, because this country was just built on racism. And she was literally, on paper, the most qualified candidate ever. Yes. So when you ask, is it harder to be a black woman in corporate America or a black man? Put anybody else. It's always harder to be a black woman. There you go. Yeah. There's the answer to your question.
How exhausting is it to constantly code switch or adjust your personality to fit into predominantly white corporate environments?
Extremely. And honestly, I don't want to say I used to get in trouble for not doing it, because I would just get in trouble for being too quiet. I don't even want to say in trouble. Like during my annual reviews, the only feedback I would get is that I just need to be more personable.
Interesting. It's like, how can you give that type of feedback? Like, that's not real.
But in order to be more personable, I literally had to, like, basically the feedback was like, I needed to share more. Not happening. Y'all don't need to know nothing about my personal life.
No.
Or two, just like and it's just like, yeah, I feel like at my first company, I wouldn't code switch. I would just be quiet.
I see. Okay.
And so as far as building relationships, with your clients or whatever, that's why I was getting that feedback, because it wasn't contributing to building relationships and Fine, fair. But yeah, it was just like, I don't relate to anything you guys are talking about. Number one, not only was I black, I was so much younger than a lot of the people I was in the room with, because when I started my first job, it was an entry-level role out of college. Most people stay in that role for years. At minimum, they want you to stay in that role for a year. I was promoted after 10 months. So then I was in a room with people who were 10, 15 years older than me, married, children, had way more work experience than I did. And then I was going to dinners with people who were married with and I'm 22, 23, 24. It's like, and I'm black. I literally don't relate to you in any capacity at all. I don't have children. I'm not married. I'm not dating anyone. We don't have the same interests.
At all.
And then on top of that, like, I don't even think I could pretend or even try to code switch, because it's like, I don't even have the knowledge of what the heck you guys are talking about to even engage in, or like even try and pretend to engage in the conversation. So like, that is literally the only like negative feedback I would get early on in my career. But then I think I like slowly started to figure out, but like I've always said, now I'm very grateful where I work. I actually can just be myself. It's a very female empowering company, minority empowering company, very inclusive company, very cool, hip, young company. So I can speak how I want to speak, and it's not weird.
That's
like Lily, I was talking to my boss earlier today, and I was like, they're being very shady. And she was like, so shady. I was like, yes. Or I forget, I said something else. And I was like,
that's good.
It's giving. Like I forget what I said. I said it's giving. I said it's giving something. And she was like, no, it's definitely giving that. And I was like,
girl, she must have Gen Z kids. I used to code switch more, but now I'm like, I'm just tired of doing that shit. Like, I have learned now, I'll talk to you if I want to talk to you. But honestly, if I don't feel like doing it and having to code switch, I just say nothing at all. And I just will sit there. I'll be on my phone. I'll look away. Like, I feel like I'll talk when it's needed. But sometimes it's like, why am I overexerting my energy? Like, it's not this deep to like kiss ass or make someone think that they need to like me or I need to like them. Like, those days are long gone. Like, it doesn't benefit me at all. I do my work. If you ask me to do something, I'll do it or whatever. But no, I no longer do all that, because it's like, it doesn't really benefit me at all once I really started to think about it more. So that's just where I'm at with that. And I think that's just my personality in general. Like, my friends know I talk, but when I don't feel like talking, I'm just going to sit there and say nothing at all. And y'all can continue the conversation without me.
Yeah.
No tea, no shade. It's just like, I'm tired of talking and I have no energy. I need to just like recharge my battery.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel at work a lot of the times lately. Like, where I'm like, no, I don't feel like talking.
And honestly, I feel like you're probably similar. It's like, I've always been like this, and my mom will say it, is just like, yes, I'm quiet, but I'm the type of, don't waste my words. I speak when I
Yes.
have something to say. And if I
Right.
don't have anything to say, I don't speak.
No, literally. Because sometimes I feel like in corporate America, the conversations that are had, like, why are you talking about this? Who cares? And how will this benefit me or affect me or make me laugh? Like, why are you talking about this right now? It's the most random conversations towards, like, why are you
I
repeating
think people
this?
overcompensate,
They do.
honestly.
Do you think Black women are allowed to show up as their full selves at work?
No.
That's a tough one. I think in ways, we try, right? And I think a lot of our dialogue, the things we say or how we say things, that's like a what? And I realize sometimes I have to not say certain things or say, hey, I did this or I went here, because it's like I don't like to, have like this prejudgment or whatever or think, but it's like you probably don't know what I'm talking about, or you don't know that artist I went to the concert for, or maybe that restaurant I visited because it's Black owned or something like that. So yeah, I think it's hard. I think we do have to hide some of our identity at work and just kind of downplay some of the things in our lives, which does suck because I don't think they do the same. They say stuff as if we know, and it's like, no, I don't know who John Bow is.
Who's Jumbo?
Exactly. That's how I be feeling. Like, no, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think we absolutely can be ourselves, but you have to be prepared for an awkward silence when they have no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Or, yeah, when they're just like uncomfortable and don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like we've just developed our strategies, which is just like, just don't share too much.
Yeah.
Only share the things they can relate to and call it a day. Because then what? You're going to start explaining?
You just go down the rabbit hole, and sometimes you then really get to see how ignorant some of your coworkers really are, which is why I try my best to just kind of like, let's not even go there because I don't want to look at you differently. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, let's not even start that conversation.
Yeah, let's not go too far before I found out you voted for Trump.
Child, because it'll get there real fast.
Exactly, literally.
It'll get there really fast.
I like you, so let's not even go down that rabbit hole.
Right. What would a healthier, more supportive workplace look like for Black women in corporate?
I don't know why my mind immediately goes to DEI, but it's just like, if you're not the only Black person in the room, or at least the only Black person, let's say on your team, whatever it is, then I don't know. I think the reason why my mind goes to DEI is because if you have 6 people at the top, whatever, if at least one of them is Black, then at least there can be Black and wanting to advocate, because there's a difference. Advocate and educate. Then at least there can be some sort of education across the leaders, but also like a trickle down effect, right? I think a lot of the problems are just when there are not enough Black people in the room or at the company.
Great point.
Because I don't want to put all the blame on people who are not Black. Yes, you can read, you can do research, you can do your best to try and educate yourself, but there is a reason why we need to be in certain positions in certain rooms, because there are things we're always going to understand that other people
Right.
don't. There are perspectives and mindsets that we are always going to have that other people don't. And that's why in the workplace, representation matters, because we just have a different perspective that people do not. I'll give you another example. The company I worked at during 2020, when all of the race stuff was going on, when George Floyd was going on, and I was working at a very big company that was an industry leader in the industry I was in. And I said, we are basically the Nike of this industry, and we have not made a statement about what's going on right now in the climate of the US. Like, we need to be an industry leader in the way we are in sales and in trends in making a statement.
Yeah.
And and this is an example of why, yes, it's important to have Black people, but it's also important to have people of different ages. Because we finally make a statement, and the statement refers to Black people as Blacks. And so I say something to like my boss, and she like goes down the grapevine to find out like who approved this statement. And they did ask a Black executive at the company, like, what do you think about this statement? And he approved it, but he was an older Black man. And it was just like,
No.
in 2020, who is referring to Black people as Blacks?
Yeah, Blacks is crazy. Like, that's very triggering.
So it's like, that's why it's just important to have the diversity amongst race, but also age.
That's very true, because Blacks is crazy. Like, baby, we are not back in your time. Yeah, that's crazy.
Who is saying Blacks?
No, child, you make
I
me
literally,
the statement.
no, because like that was probably the first time in my career where I really spoke up. And I was like, I can't believe we haven't made a statement yet.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my boss about it. She was like, send me an email so I can forward it to our CEO. She forwarded it to our CEO, whatever. But then it's like, we finally made a statement. Why are we referring to Black people as Blacks?
Yeah, no, that's crazy as hell. Like, honestly, y'all could have kept that in the draft. Exactly. Blacks is crazy. Like, huh? That made it even worse. Because it's like, if you're going to put out a statement, you better come correct. Child.
Yes. So people love to put a negative connotation on woke, but it's like, you need woke people to keep you from getting canceled, because we should have been canceled for calling Black people Blacks in 2020.
No, I'm about to Google that statement, because now I want to read it, because Blacks is crazy. I need to know, like, and how did y'all use it in a sentence?
I wish I could remember verbatim, but yeah, when we're done, I'm going to try and find it.
What advice would you give to other Black women navigating similar spaces?
I think the advice would be what we've been talking about, is we have to be twice as good. And unfortunately, that's just our reality for the foreseeable future. But I think I would say, when you work hard and you finally get the recognition and you get promoted, make sure you are bringing up other Black women with you. Because I think sometimes in corporate life, we can get into the not all kinfolk thing.
Yeah.
And we're not looking out for each other, or we're throwing each other under the bus. And that's not it. Yeah. It's like, once you get into a position where you can reach back and help and pull somebody else up, reach back. But unfortunately, even getting in that position for us, it literally requires being twice as good. I also think, and you can probably speak to this, like having a mentor.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
No, having a mentor for me, it's been the most essential resource I've had in my career, because I think based on obviously the type of mentor you choose, my mentor is a Black woman that has come up in this industry, from the dawn of time to now being over 35. So it's like, she's been through what I've been through, and she's still, like you said, she's not too out of touch reality. She's not some older, man or woman. She's literally in her mid-30s. So I think there's a lot that we can talk about, and she understands where I'm coming from, things of that nature. But, one of the biggest things that I've learned is just staying true to myself and staying true to who I am as a Black woman, and remembering that I am Black and I am a woman. And that's something that my parents have taught me specifically, just because, them being older in their corporate careers, they're like, one thing that they're not going to change about me is that I am Black and I am a man or a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And that is essential, because I think once you can know who you are at the core, they can't, change your mindset or make you talk a certain way or do certain things, just because it's like, if you know who you are, then no, you're not going to say or do certain things, period. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important to remember who you are, because we've all been in those environments where you're like, you're just like me, but why are you acting like this? Or why are you trying to, turn against me or be against me, or not try to hear me out or try to take my side? Mm-hmm. You're very much over there. So, and that's not okay, because it's like, it's only so many few of us. Mm-hmm. And you over there with them, like, okay, that's cool. I'm cool with everybody, but regardless, there's certain conversations and things that happen where it's like, hey, come on.
Yeah. Stay true to yourself. Because at the end of the day, money will come and money will go. But it's like you have to live with yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And I personally just feel like, how can you live with yourself if you stepped on other people to get to where you are, neglected other people to get to where you are, but especially people of your own kind?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how else we break generational trauma, curses, whatever, if we don't, as we rise, help the next person up. That's the only way. And some people don't care. Like, they're out for themselves and so be it. But it's just like, it's not right.
No.
The reality of the situation is we have to work twice as hard. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the advice we have to give right now. But the more we lift each other up, the more of us are in positions of power and the more we can lift people up, right? So if you're qualified and the next person who is not Black is not as qualified as you, and that person that happens to be in the position of power and is a decision maker can lift you up because you are qualified, then great. Because if it was a white person in that position of power, they're just going to choose there's a high likelihood they're going to choose the person that's unqualified simply because they're white.
Absolutely.
Which is why, as more of us rise, we need to keep bringing each other up so we can all look out for each other. And that's not me saying you hire someone simply because they're Black, but we prevent situations from happening where somebody is highly qualified and they do not get the job because they are Black. Literally at my last company, our HR lady was Black. I was her first hire. Mm-hmm. She hired like 4 more Black women after me.
Period. She said, bring them in, bring them all. No, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. But no, I'm the same way. I'm the type, because I'm still growing in my career. So of course, if I can help a young Black girl out, I do that, because I'm like, that is going to open doors for me. Mm-hmm. And that's better opportunity. So it's like, why wouldn't I help someone? Because I know how hard it was for me to kind of get my foot in the door. Mm-hmm. So I do try to make it easier for the generation coming up under me. Mm-hmm. And long story short, I went to one of my mentors' events recently, and there was a young lady that she interned at one of my previous companies, and I brought her to my mentor and said, hey, I think y'all need to connect. I think she would be a good fit for you. And long story short, I was there at the event and I was talking to her sister, and her sister was like, I just want to thank you personally for like literally telling my sister about this opportunity, taking her under your wing and providing her with this opportunity, because it's completely changed her life. Like, we see so much growth in her. And I'm just like, that melted my heart. Mm-hmm. Because I told that young lady, I promise you, I got you. This is going to work out. Mm-hmm. I am who I am because of this woman. And I think that this is what you need. And I'm just so glad she followed through with it. And even me seeing her, I saw so much growth in her. And it made me proud of like, just keep doing what I'm doing, but also opening up doors for other Black women that are coming up behind me. So I'm an advocate for that, because you don't understand how many lives that you impact. And that's important, because I want the same for me. It's not many Black women that open the door for me. So I do genuinely want to open as many Black doors as possible, many doors as possible for other Black women. So yes to that.
Yeah. And you just literally have to pay it forward.
You do. Yeah. You do.
And honestly, what I will say is, in my career, I was lucky to have great female bosses that advocated for me, and they weren't even Black. Like, thank God, I still keep in touch with them to this day. And I think that can be difficult. And honestly, like, this is a controversial opinion again, but it's also a very trending topic right now online about how white women are the men of society. Like, what is it? White women are the men of women. Where it's like, when it comes down to being a woman, minority woman, you gotta look out for white women. And it was a huge topic when everyone was saying, would you rather be trapped in the woods with the man or the bear? Remember, it transitioned to would you rather be in a conference room with a white male or a white woman? And a lot of people were saying a white male.
Man, yeah, I agree.
You know?
I agree.
And so, God
I
willing,
agree.
I've had white female bosses that have actually stuck their neck out for me. But, and I'm grateful for that. But I do think when you do have someone that is an ally, like, again, keep them as a mentor,
Yeah.
whatever it is, because you never know when your roads can cross paths.
Absolutely right.
Again, literally, I had an old boss that hit me up a couple weeks ago. She just so happened to be in Houston. Like, genuinely, we didn't even work together that long, but genuinely, she likes me as a person and I like her as a person.
Yeah.
And those are the type of relationships you hold on to, because then you know they're going to look out for you
Come on.
in the work environment.
Absolutely.
You know? So I would say if you have allies, keep them close. But
True.
you know what? And yeah. So to answer the question, I would say you have to remember that, yes, as Black women, we do have to work twice as hard. I would say when you succeed, bring other people up with you. I would say number 3 is just when you have an ally, keep them close.
No, it's true, because you really never know when you need that contact or that person for
Don't burn
an
bridges.
opportunity. Yeah. No, you're so right about that. Because there's times where I'm like frantically like, gosh, who do I know? And it's like, thank God. Like, it's so good to have a network that you can tap into when you need. And vice versa. I love when I get phone calls. I'm like, yes, I can do it.
And I also think too is just like, people can say whatever they want about you, but at the end of the day, your track record is always going to speak for itself. Your work is always going to speak for itself. So people can say, I don't like her, and pull whatever reason out their ass. But if everybody's experience has been that you always delivered things on time, you were always professional, you always gave great feedback, whatever it is, then like,
Yeah.
it's just like always remain professional.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what receipts are they gonna pull on you?
Right. For sure.
It is what it is. So that would be my advice.
Very well said.
Let your work speak for itself. Well, actually, not really, because I also feel like you have to advocate for yourself. I feel like that's another piece of advice.
That is true, because sometimes you will, depending on the environment.
We do have to advocate for ourselves at the same time, and what we want: equal pay, promotions if we feel like we deserve it. I feel like we do have to speak up in that way also.
Very true. How do you create boundaries in a workplace that expects you to always show up as the strong one?
To say, I don't have the bandwidth for this today. When do you need this by? Set realistic deadlines. I think there's a way to level set that you are a human with a limited bandwidth. And just because you are a strong Black woman does not mean you have more bandwidth than Susie.
Oh, no, for real. No, that's definitely how I feel. It's like, I'm not the strong one. We're all same playing field, babes. I'm not about to be taking on more than you, any of that nature. But yeah, I agree with that. Like, if I can take it on, I can take it on. I also don't believe in instantly replying to certain emails. Like, I'm just not urgently doing that. No. And I hate when, like, someone's like, hey, did you see that email? Or like, hey, did you get that email? Like, give me some time. Like, it literally hasn't been an hour. Relax.
Yeah.
So I'm very big on that. I'm not going to, if it's not, a Slack message or, some type of instant message, I'm not replying instantly. And that's one of the things that I had to like really, put in my regimen of just like, I'm not doing that. Because if people expect you to reply back instantly, then they expect instant results and feedback and work being completed. Like, that'll get done, but probably later on today, or maybe probably in the morning. Like, I already have a to-do list for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I hate that like urgency feeling like I have to do something ASAP because it was just sent to me right now. What role does community, whether through coworkers, mentors, or group chats, play in helping you survive corporate burnout? For me, when it comes to just my burnout and...
Y'all got a Blacks only group chat?
No, but we do have... But we do have monthly...
Blacks.
Right. We do have a monthly happy hour for the blacks only.
Period.
Yes, and I love it. I said, "Ooh, I love the secret society."
No.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But it's a once a month. But that's one thing I love about us at my company. It's not many of us, and we don't even know each other. But
Just flies under the radar.
Yes, but I love we walk past each other and we gonna speak. And I notice my other coworkers kind of look like, "How do you?" But they don't say anything. It's like, shh, 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 shh.
We see each other.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Anywho, so for me, there's nothing like getting a, "Do you want to get happy hour after work?" text. I love that because sometimes I'm like, I really need that. So honestly, that really does help me with my burnout, is getting some fresh air, getting a cocktail, maybe catching a little vibe out somewhere after work. That is essential for me at this stage I'm in my life. Like, I'm not married yet. I don't have children yet. So for me, there's nothing like letting my hair down a bit after work, after just, girl, oh my God, you're going through the same thing I'm going through. Cool. Let's get up. Let's just chat about it. Let's get a drink and let's just talk and feel better. I think that's one of the biggest things for me when it comes to just like my circle of like friends and maybe some coworkers or just like mentors, things of that nature. What about you?
No, I think you need to have a safe space to shit talk with your black coworkers. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, the tea that is spilled during those sessions, especially when you first started, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They did, and they what? And he, what happened? And he still works here?
Yeah.
Like, it's a safe space for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just experienced that also because I'm remote. So I'm very removed from everybody. But I had one of my black coworkers reach out to me recently and was like, "I know you started a while ago. Like, I'm so sorry I haven't reached out sooner. Like, we were chatting and it was just very comfortable. And we were like, let's go to happy hour next time I'm in New York." And yeah, so now I'm gonna be in New York, and I was like, let's do X, Y, and Z date, and whatever. And it's like, I literally really don't work with her, really don't talk to her at all, but it's just like, what's tea?
Essential. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter that we don't communicate on the day-to-day, that we're not on the same team per se, that we don't work together very closely, because you know, and I felt comfortable because I know the second that we step out of that office and we get to wherever we're going for happy hour, like, her guard's gonna be down, my guard's gonna be down. Because it's like, at the end of the day, outside, like, we're on the same team outside, but that's where discernment comes in, because you gotta know, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
True. True. Fill them out first, fill them out.
Right. But, yeah, so.
No, that's very true. That's very true. And it just made me think also when it comes to that is, you know, you have to be careful of what you share with different coworkers at work, whether they're black or white, right?
I was literally just thinking that as you said that.
Because that is something that you can definitely get caught up on.
Yep.
And there's certain things I'll leave out of certain stories just to see if word gets back around. I know exactly who I told and where the information came from. So play with me if you want to. But I never tell the full story. I always leave certain pieces out, or there's maybe one side I may tell to this person, but I'm not going to go back and tell that person. Just because it's like, I'm not here to start no drama, no mess. I really try my best to be cool with everybody. Just
Not
because
you, the puppet master.
Huh? Blake, you know me in real life. You know I love the tea. my life doesn't have much drama, so I live for the drama. So I'll be like, girl, what?
No, corporate drama's the best.
It is.
Honestly, yeah, because there's not a lot of drama in my real life too. But it's like, wait, so-and-so's leaving? Why?
Yes.
Like,
and do you know how dumb I play? Like, I actually don't know that. I'm so bad. I had someone text me earlier about some tea. I already knew that tea days ago, but I act like I didn't know.
You said it's lukewarm, but I'm gonna act like it's piping hot.
Yeah, because I already had someone else. I already had asked someone else about the tea days ago, and they were like, "Well, who told you?" I said, "Oh no, I'm not spilling my tea on that." So I said, "Oh no, this is already getting messy." So I'm big on keeping my sources very confidential. So do that. Keep your sources very confidential when, you're getting that tea.
When the corporate gossip starts to
Yes.
stir.
Because you don't want to be caught as the messy one. I'm not the messy one. I'm just, I just know what's going on. Because I'm definitely not the messenger.
That's what they all say. What they call it on Real Housewives of Atlanta, the bone collector. They call it the bone collector.
I mean,
Not Ashley's the bone collector.
it do kind of sound like that. At least I'm not the messenger being, stirring the pot. I'm just collecting the information.
Yes. No. The bone collector on Real Housewives of Atlanta would collect the information, but then they would bring it to the table when everybody was at the same table.
Oh,
you wouldn't. That's beyond that. You wouldn't do that.
No, I don't do that.
But you will collect the information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I collect the information and then I go tell people about it. Okay, well.
That's enough.
Right.
Before she tells your business too.
Right. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.